Let me just, in closing, make one further set of remarks. The question occurs, who is deciding to do this with the funds of these patriots? I'm going to read the names of the 5 members of the board of the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board and its executive director, and just give you a snapshot from their bios on the board's own website. The chairman of the board, as I mentioned earlier, is Michael Kennedy. Michael Kennedy has a day job. All of them, with the exception of the executive director, have a day job that is not on the board. Mr. Kennedy's is as a managing director in the Atlanta office of Korn Ferry International, where he is a member of the firm's global financial services practice, specializing in commercial investment banking, capital markets, and asset management searches. Dana Bilyeu is the executive director of the National Association of State Retirement Administrators, an organization of the CEOs of the statewide pension plans in all states and territories of the United States. Ron McCrae is described as a private investor and corporate director. He's been involved with a number of institutions over the years, investing in various ways as an institutional investor for them. He was, among other things, the chief administrative officer of Nike, a company that has been prominently featured in the NBA's interests in China. William Jassian is the CEO and managing director of Stonehenge Global Partners, a firm focused on business development and capital raising strategies. Again, he's had a number of other positions over the years, but one of them was he served on the board of the Securities Investor Protection Corporation, where he chaired the multi-billion-dollar investment committee. And finally, the executive director, who is described as serving as in that position for the largest defined contribution plan in the world, that would be the Thrift Savings Plan, has worked in that organization for some time, but among other things was in the asset management industry for 29 years prior to joining the FRTIB. These are people who obviously know a lot about the investment business. This is not to suggest that that's a bad thing necessarily. It is, however, to raise the question of whether they have a conflict of interest. Because they are in the sector that Roger has described that is being squeezed by the Chinese at best, and at worst is simply all in because of the opportunity to make money. And these people who have described in the ways that Roger mentioned earlier in their letter to the senators who have expressed concern about the inadvisability of these sorts of investments are, it would seem to me, ill-suited to make judgments about the prudential risk and the appropriateness of these investments, because they come from the business that has demonstrated it has no interest in any of that. That's not in the best interests of people like those of us who have invested in the Thrift Savings Plan and who are relying on it to provide us retirement benefits that we can have confidence in. And I'll just close by wrapping up one key point that I think has been made here. This is not in the interest of the national security, clearly. But it's not even fiduciary responsible investing either. The Committee on the Present Danger is relatively new. Our organization, the Center for Security Policy, with, I believe, Roger's help and a number of others, several years ago warned about a company called Alibaba. Alibaba is perhaps the largest corporation in the world, certainly one of the largest in China. It came to the United States capital markets and raised more money in an initial public offering than any other in history. I think $25 billion, if I'm not mistaken. And we said at the time, with no perceptible effect, anybody who is investing in Alibaba shares will own no part of Alibaba at all. They will actually own, if anything, something in the way of a holding company in the Cayman Islands, whose relationship with Alibaba is a little unclear, frankly. But it's certainly possible that in that case, as in others, we may find people defrauded of their funds. Could that happen with the corporations that China considers it a state secret to know what is their actual financial condition? You bet it could. So on all of these grounds, if I may just speak on behalf of those of us present, and I think the committee more generally, we are determined to try to make sure this decision by the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board does not stand. And we salute and look forward to working with the members of the Congress who are disposed to oppose it as well. We think the more information is available, the more certain it is they will do so on a bipartisan basis, perhaps even unanimously. And we hope also, as Brian and others have indicated, that we will see the President of the United States, as he is apprised of what's happening here, similarly decide that this is not something he wants happening on his watch, and it should not.